Another day, another massive stadium booing Donald Trump. And this stadium was in Miami. The college football national championship game took place on Monday, and Donald Trump was booed during the national anthem at the game where Indiana went on to win the national championship against Miami. The game was taking place in Miami, which you think could be potentially friendly for Donald Trump. But I want you to watch. Amanda Kristovic was recording what took place. Donald Trump gets booed during the national anthem, and Trump specifically coordinated so the camera would pan to him during the national anthem because he figured it would be harder for him to be booed during the national anthem, but the crowd still booed. I want you to watch this. Here, play this clip.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose rush and bright stars through the peril.
Now, as I think about Donald Trump getting booed at the college football championship game, I do indeed reflect on when Donald Trump was booed about 2 months ago or 3 months ago or so at the Washington Commanders game as they hosted the Detroit Lions. Do you remember him getting mercilessly booed there? And whereas at the college football championship, they had him on camera during the national anthem, what they tried to do at the Commanders game is have him read off the names of like injured veterans because they figured, how could you boo him while he's reading off the names of injured veterans? Well, he got booed. Here, play this clip. And just to remind you, here was another angle of Donald Trump being booed because Americans are absolutely livid at him and what his regime is doing, how he's sending his ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo, threatening to send 1,500 paratroopers from who are training in Alaska into Minneapolis, specifically Minneapolis and into St. Paul. And as the Trump regime threatens now to arrest and indict Don Lemon, which is expected to occur very soon as well. So here was Donald Trump getting booed, just so you see it from another angle. Here, play this clip. All right. Now, people are booing Donald Trump, and rightfully so. I mean, you want to talk about Miami? How about this article right here with some of the recent news as we're now getting the figures about all of the Cubans that Donald Trump has deported. The Cubans thought that they were immune from all of this, the same way the Venezuelans thought that they were immune. But to their shock, Cubans in Florida are being deported in record numbers. And this article by Patricia Mazzei over at the New York Times, it talks about how Heidi Sanchez took her 17-month-old daughter to a routine check-in last April at the Immigration and Customs Enforcement in Tampa while she was breastfeeding. They ripped her child off her while she was breastfeeding, and they took her out and they threw her into a car, disappeared her, and deported her. And then this article goes on to say that, this is not unique to her, that under Donald Trump, over 1,600 Cubans in the Miami area have been deported. They've been disappeared and then they've been deported. And it's like by far the most of any presidency. And, the Cubans thought that they had special status under Donald Trump. A lot of them were sent to Alligator Alcatraz and treated horribly, horribly. And, this is what Trump's doing around the world. He is going after, communities and ripping apart families. This is what he does. He's an evil human being. And so while Donald Trump was getting booed, he's making posts like this. These were the posts that he was making yesterday into the evening hours. Trump off to a strong start in 2026 on affordability issue. You know, what website he's citing. You think you're off to a strong start on affordability? What, you think we're stupid that we go, oh, everything's more affordable all of a sudden? No, people still can't afford their rent. People can't afford homes. Beef is at an all-time high. Grocery prices are surging. Things are not affordable. People are kicked off their healthcare plans because you refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Things are bad. But you know, Donald Trump, what does he care about? He goes, under the FACE Act, Trump writes, or he reposts, I would like to see Don Lemon sentenced. And Don Lemon and people who broke into the church. Don Lemon didn't break into a church. Don Lemon was reporting on a protest that was taking place where people found out that a church leader was part of the ICE Gestapo. Then Donald Trump writes, in Minnesota, there's too much media attention on ICE, who have removed some of the worst murderers and criminals in the world. People let into our country by crooked Joe Biden's horrendous open border policy, and not enough attention paid to the staggering sums of money stolen from the state by corrupt Minnesota politicians, DJT. You know, we're not stupid. We know that you're targeting mostly the innocent people, hardworking people, ripping people off of roofs, ripping people away from farms, ripping people out of restaurants, and people who are asylum seekers who are lawfully here, taking away people's temporary protected status, going after families that have lived here peacefully for a very long period of time, and torturing and terrorizing the communities across the United States. That's what we know the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo are doing. By the way, so Donald Trump also, I'll do a whole other video about furious world leaders refusing to join Donald Trump's phony peace board, where he's having Putin and Lukashenko of Belarus join in order to destroy NATO and destroy the United Nations by creating his own organization where you have to pay him $1 billion to join, and he gets to decide all of the rules. As I've reported in this other video, I'll talk about it more there. Poland says we're not joining. France says we're not joining. The UK says we're not joining. No one is joining this ridiculous thing to sit on a board with Vladimir Putin and Lukashenko and Orban, okay? But Donald Trump wanted to make this big flashy announcement in Switzerland at the Davos conference with all the rich people. But I love this too. California Governor Gavin Newsom is showing up in Davos in order to stand up against Trump and to represent what the United States could be. And I want to say this as well, because I'm going to mention this on a lot of videos today because it's not getting enough attention. As we've talked about Donald Trump's betrayal across the world and Trump propping up authoritarians, right? The way he props up Delcy Rodriguez, the authoritarian leader in Venezuela, who then allows Donald Trump to sell some of the Venezuelan oil to Donald Trump's right-wing oligarch friends. Trump takes the money, puts it in Qatari bank accounts. Trump doesn't want democratic leaders, pro-democracy leaders, because they wouldn't let him take money and send it over to Qatari bank accounts for Donald. That's what he wants to do with the $1 billion from his phony peace board as well. But think about Donald Trump's betrayal of the Iranian protesters, who Donald Trump said, get out there and protest. I've got your back. They all got massacred and Donald Trump did not have their back. But think about the betrayal to the Kurdish community that fought ISIS alongside the United States in northern Syria. And they also have a presence, of course, in northern Iraq, in these areas. And so the Syrian army under al-Sharar, who was the former ISIS leader, who's now the guy who runs Syria, that's the guy who Donald Trump sprays the cologne on and sniffs. Remember, Donald Trump had that guy and he goes, oh, you're so handsome, you're so good looking. The Syrian forces, which is basically now ISIS, they took over all of the whole Kurdish area that was basically semi-autonomous. That's the word I was looking for. That was being run in a pretty democratic fashion that worked with the United States previously. Well, they've all been basically taken out. ISIS prisoners have been removed from those prisons, and the Kurds are basically under attack, and they're being massacred right now by Syrian government forces, and the U.S. does nothing. Here are the scenes right here, just so you see, in Erbil in northern Iraq, of the Kurdish community protesting in front of the U.S. consulate there for the U.S. betrayal, utter betrayal. I mean, just think about it, from the Women's Protection Units, the YPJ, to the Syrian Defense Forces, the SDF. Trump has screwed our allies over and over again, and he props up authoritarians. That's just what Donald Trump does. Take a look at the latest congressional generic poll. This from Rasmussen. This is the Trump pollster right here, Rasmussen. They're as close to Trump as you can be. Democrats are +6, the widest Democratic lead in Rasmussen's generic ballot since July 2018. Democrats crushing the MAGA Republicans in the MAGA Republicans' own poll right there. You take a look at Donald Trump's approval amongst independents in January, all-time low. His approval's right around 29%. That's the lowest in presidential history at this time, and rightfully so. And what does the Trump regime do? Continue to threaten and attack Don Lemon. You had Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's deputy attorney general, attack Don Lemon. Play this clip.
And the fact that man, that Mr. Lemon, thought that was a good idea to do that and then to race away from it saying it was freedom of the press. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
And then you had Greg Bavino, the Border Patrol chief, the one who terrorizes and tortures communities. But this guy just looks like a pathetic weasel. Here's Greg Bavino on state regime media. Play this clip.
And get this, many on the left, including in the legacy media mob, are now comparing Border Patrol chief Greg Bavino to a Nazi. Nothing new. That's their favorite go-to. Why? Because he's walking around outside in the freezing cold in Minnesota wearing a long overcoat. Here to respond, U.S. Border Patrol Sector Chief Greg Bavino. Oh, so you're trying to stay warm, 0-degree weather, and that's their best response to you?
Sean, good evening, and thanks for having me. Exactly. That trench coat has been around with the Border Patrol since 1924, 101 years. Definitely one of my most warm uniform items that's been issued to me. And, they always go to that Nazi, that Gestapo symbolism when they have nothing else left.
Finally, I'm going to do a whole other video on this morning, so stay tuned. But we had multiple survivors yesterday file briefs before federal judges, Judge Berman and Judge Engelmeyer, demanding that there be an independent monitor put in place in the Epstein cases to force the release of the Epstein files. Haley Robson, and then you had Lisa Phillips, both filing that. And Michael Popak from the MeidasTouch Network is representing Lisa Phillips and filed that brief for Lisa Phillips in the Engelmeyer case, in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. So there you have it, folks. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.